Here we go.
No Nation. Welcome into another episode of the Renegade Rundown with the lovely and beautiful, as always, Jen Santee, aka at Jen Santee 1890. Right below her and I is my good friend Deshawn Adams, aka at Deshawn Adams. Fuck that all up. At Deshawn Adams 18 via X, and you can find me at Renegade Report 1 right there on X as well. As I get a little tongue tied there, the subject of the show today is Florida State and Mike Norvell putting together just an absolute monster in Tallahassee. The very latest piece of that puzzle for the most recent class, the 2025 class, is going to be Payton Joseph, a four-star interior offensive lineman that we just added a bit of fireworks there on 4th of July. Florida State also added a commitment from a 2026 defensive back that we will get to a little bit later in the show. So you actually get two commitments that are on July 4th. But the big one, the main attraction, is the big man, Payton Joseph. Before we get too deep into it, we'll welcome Jen back to the show. She had a pretty rough, tough run in there with a pool floaty. So I think she missed one show recovering from that, but she has healed up and returned. How fired up to beat your little hometown school there of Memphis and get Payton Joseph. How fired up. Unlike Florida, we were able to get that 1-1.
Well, number one, I called it. I said that's exactly how I was going to go. So I do love that Memphis was, very involved. And I love that they put on a good show for him. That's a really good, momentum builder for them. But you're not going to beat out Florida State for a kid like Payton Joseph. I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen. And they knew that. And I think they knew that. And that's exactly why I called that, maybe it was last week, something like that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, good. I love this pick up. And he used to be a Florida commit, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So again, another love.
Oh, yeah, man. There's all kind of ways to look at this. We're going to get into it. Florida tries to play the game of, we didn't want this guy. And we'll get into that in a little bit more detail. But let's start with our initial impressions and we'll move on to Sean. I know Deshawn has some highlights lined up, so I'll go ahead and get those pulled up. Again, as we talk about Payton Joseph, Florida State's latest addition, moving their class up to number 9, back to number 9 in the On3 industry rankings. The 10th blue chip in a row, 10 of 10, 100% blue chip ratio. How are we feeling about our guy, interior offensive lineman Payton Joseph, Deshawn?
Man, I love it. You can see in the film, they got him playing right tackle here. I think this is some sophomore film. He's from Warner Robins, Georgia. That's not too far from me. I can see where he could play inside, really quick feet, man. So once again, the trenches are being addressed, and you can see a shift in the direction of where we're going as a program. The philosophy, all the mindset is get those trenches where they need to be able to compete at the highest of an elite levels. So this is just another addition to what's already building into a great offensive line class.
Yeah, and again, Payton Joseph, who you see on the screen, pancaking guys and just being really aggressive, whether it be at tackle or inside. Florida State's bringing him inside to be an interior offensive lineman, possibly play some center. We'll see how it works out. We know that Alex Atkins cross trains guys, so we'll see him probably play all three of those interior positions. On3 has him at 6'3", 280 pounds, and this is another guy. It follows a theme that we talk about a lot on this show. Fort Valley, Georgia, Houston County High School. Another top guy out of the state of Georgia commits to Florida State. He's actually the number 24 guy in the state of Georgia, according to On3's industry ranking, number 12 interior offensive lineman, number 183 overall. I believe in 247 they have him as like the number 7 interior offensive lineman. These ranks vary, but we like to, kind of look at all of them. Big pickup. Jen mentioned that he was at one time committed to Florida. And the story that was kind of put out, I can't remember exactly who put this out there on Twitter, but it was kind of, they let it be known that, he decommitted from Florida, but they told him they didn't want him. They pretty much took him off their board. They stopped recruiting him. And it's like that may be true in a certain frame of light, but he made sure to retweet and kind of point it out on Instagram. Yeah, they pulled it. They pulled the scholarship because he kept going back to Florida State. He was at Florida State like 5 days out of 6 or 7 days or something right there. He was about to flip, so they pulled the offer.
Yeah.
Ends up he waits for July 4th fireworks. Maybe if they hadn't done that, he'd have done a flip. And I'll be the first one to say, like, I don't blame you for doing it. Like,
Right.
you know, I mean, if you're Florida, do it, because Florida State would have done the same thing if the roles were reversed, and we've seen it happen. But it's always funny that as soon as somebody decommits or commits elsewhere, whatever the case may be, all of a sudden he wasn't a target. Classic stuff from the Florida people. So unlike Antoine Hill, Payton Joseph does not spurn Florida State, and we get him in there. Really
Well,
a beautiful
Antoine
thing.
Hill he spurned Florida.
Yep.
My guy spurned Florida, and I'm getting a jersey for him too. By the way, I'm getting a Memphis Antoine Hill jersey. I've got to. Sorry.
Yeah. Relationships really won out here. Not only his relationship with Atkins, but also, was it Ferguson? He's cousins.
Yeah, that's
So,
another thing I found out. I don't know how I
Ferguson is
missed
his
that.
cousin. So they have a really, you know, we had a lot of things going for us in this recruitment. Not just the winning culture, the locker room, but you had relationships with the coaching staff and personal family relationships already on the team. So it really just it played out for our favor heavily.
It's crazy how, you know, kind of temperament can fly. You know, everybody's kind of down on the mouth. We missed out on a couple guys, but you get right on track and get a guy like Payton Joseph to go along with Solomon Thomas, a 5-star, also on the interior offensive line. Pretty amazing to have like a top 3 guy consensus, a guy who's number 1 on 247 on the interior line, and another guy like that, and Payton Joseph. And you know, you ended up landing him over Memphis, but you know, that's just because everybody knew what the deal was. Here's a top guy in the country. Here's a big time guy. And I believe it was Clay Fink that pointed it out. Him and Solomon Thomas are the highest, you know, ranked duo of offensive linemen at Florida State in like
quite some time,
decades upon decades. I don't even know what the answer to that question was, but really big shit.
One thing I will say is people, like, I know they're going to say he picked Florida State over Memphis, right? But Memphis NIL is outrageous. People don't get this. That program they're building, you know, facilities up. They're doing all these things. It's not like the Memphis of old, if you're not understanding. This is a program that, you know, our amazing head coach came from, right? He won so many, like, it was like what he did at Memphis, like he put them on the map. So I think people need to understand this isn't like stealing, you know, a recruit from like UTEP, right? This is totally different. It's, you know, Memphis's NIL is being funded by FedEx. Let's just put that there.
Yeah, I don't think, and even signing him, I don't think it's like a deal where you stole him from Memphis. I think that was just more of this is one of those deals where you give a smaller school like some love. And yeah, I'm sure he probably got a bag for that official visit.
Yep.
A little bit of, you know, cool to be hugged up with the CEO of FedEx. But when it comes down to your school, you're not going to see Florida State lose out on those battles, knock on wood.
No.
Like poor Florida did. So
yeah,
we can laugh
that's
that up for sure.
That's got to hurt your feelings, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Imagine losing a quarterback to me. Sorry.
That shit's hilarious. Hilarious. But moving on, you know, looking at the interior offensive lineman, they may sign another name, but now that pretty much opens us up for offensive tackle recruiting. Unfortunately, it's not as kind of spelled out as interior offensive line as recruiting has been, but there are some big names on the board. Lamont Rogers is one that commits on July the 7th. This would be one of those ones that would be like CJ Wiley if he pops, to where you know you put in a good effort recruiting, but it's just one of those ones where it seems like on the outset kind of everything's working against you. Doesn't seem like somebody who has just been, you know, out there recruiting for the Knolls and things like that, somebody you have penciled into your class. He's somebody that I've really liked. He was there for the spring game. He made it back for the big recruiting weekend on 6/21/23. through the 23rd. But curious how you feel on Lamont Rogers as being one of those offensive tackle targets. Are we a chance we get him, or am I just kind of head in the clouds on that one?
Well, I'll be honest. And forward, everything I've heard right now is he's leaning Missouri, and Missouri's really putting things together for for what they've been traditionally. This is a really good recruiting stretch that they've been on lately. I mean, it's not a Missouri show, but just tying it into Florida State, I believe we've been in it, but I just believe Missouri will edge us out in this situation.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Missouri's NIL is insane. And people don't really understand that. But it is.
Yeah, it's
It
more
really is.
political. It's political because they have state backing, not just individual independent backers and boosting.
100%.
Yeah.
So anybody being like, "Oh, you lost a recruit to Missouri or whatever," no, Missouri is all over this, and they are. Look, they're really stepping up now. I look personally. I think I love Eli Drinkowitz. I think he's great. I loved his comments about the SEC, and I loved his comments about Florida State. I think that guy is going to be a superstar. Do I think he's going to be at Missouri? 100% no. Because the fan base just, all the things. This is a stepping stone for him. I think he's going to move on and go bigger and better. But do I think that their NIL is amazing? Yes. It's so good. And people just don't get it at this point.
Yeah.
It's not talked about enough is what I would say.
Yeah, for good reason. Fuck Missouri, and as Jim would say, and I get aggravated about her sometimes when she's short about people, but no, they've got stuff going on, and they get that whatever $70-80 million paycheck. But like Deshawn said, it isn't a Missouri show, so we won't go too crazy long on it. But it would be nice to take somebody from that. But the problem is, if a Missouri and that NIL that they alluded to, if they want to pay a crazy absorbent fee to go over the top to break that tie, that is something that particularly the Battle's End, as far as to my knowledge, and everybody I've talked to and listening to Ingram speak and things of that nature, it's just not something they do. So if they can win the recruitment and he wants to come in here and get the offensive tackles top pay, as according to the chart for a freshman, we'd love to have him, but they're not going to pay him double, triple the money. So it'll be fun to see.
One more thing I might add about their NIL is it's not just about the money. They are helping like family members. They're helping they're doing a whole program for like the families, like housing and things. It's really that's what I would say. It's not just the money. They're like helping the kids' moms and that I agree with. I would go there too. That's what I would say.
That's great. They must have a really good one. But as far as Lamont Rogers, we will see. Moving on to the next guy, I would say Tai Haywood is a guy on the board, but everybody's got him going to Bama. Florida State has really poured some time into this one. Not crazy. I would say somewhere around like the Tariq Lockett neighborhood, to where it would be a shock to get him, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. I just. It's tough. These are tough battles, and that's how it is with offensive tackles. People are extremely hard on Florida State for their recruiting, and they want to blame it on NIL and talk about what other people are doing, blame these things. There's just only so many of them. There's like 10, 15 of them that are like truly elite offensive tackles out of a high school level, and even that's pushing it. But yeah, thoughts on Tai Haywood around the room. We can start with Jen this time.
Okay. Well, I kind of thought he was going to go to Bama, and it's nothing against Florida State. Again, like you said, there's only so many to go around. And I'm not about to start questioning a school or a coaching staff that went 13-0. And I'm also, when they were supposedly recruiting horrendously and went 13-0. So I'm just not in the mood for it. That kid wants to go to Alabama. Good for you. Enjoy Alabama. Maybe the relationship will be there when you want to hit the transfer portal. I don't know. But this coaching staff knows what they're doing. I'm not upset. I don't care about misses. I care about wins. We're like No, I
Tai
know. I'm
Haywood
just
hasn't done
saying.
anything to us. He's a great offensive tackle.
No,
Tai
I'm just
Haywood hasn't done
saying.
anything to us. He's a great offensive tackle, one of the best in the
Absolutely. That's
nation.
what I'm saying.
Alabama's favored.
Good
Like,
for the
yeah,
kid. I'm
we're just,
happy for him.
yeah,
That's where he wants to go.
like,
Keep the
we,
relationship up.
yeah,
If he wants to transfer in a couple of years, that relationship is there. It's not
yeah,
sullied. So there you go. That's what I was saying.
100%, 100%.
Well, uniquely, both of these guys, particular prospects, are playing their football in the state of Texas.
Yeah,
So, and if we can sit there and if you scour the timeline and know recruiting, Texas is going through it right now. Haywood is originally from Mississippi.
okay,
So
I didn't know that.
I can understand
Mhm.
some things that, that connection. If you're not a Mississippi fan in that state, you most likely, Alabama has been a big player in those areas, but it's not conceding defeat in that situation. It's just you read the tea leaves and you know how stuff
Mhm.
works. And
Yeah.
it's not a problem. It's still, you still have a board. There's still a huge board of tackles or linemen for us to recruit. Those were two that we stepped out of the state or out of our footprint to go after. And you're gonna the further you go out, the risk goes up that you may not get this particular prospect. So that's what it is.
Yeah, I think what I would say on that one is probably like if anybody gets them besides Alabama, that would be us.
Hmm.
And I don't put anything past this staff. Like as far as we've missed a couple here as of lately, but the
Hmm.
kind of the rest of the staff, they've done a pretty damn good
Good
job
job.
of
Hmm.
hitting the chalk and getting a couple surprises. So it wouldn't surprise me if one of the two, out of kind of Haywood and Rogers, if one of those two committed. But one guy, we kind of like we started off with some ones that might hit, might not, kind of
Hmm.
negative there. But let's go to the one that is predicted to Florida State. We have predicted to be a Florida State Seminole. Unfortunately, we got to wait a while for him. This isn't
Hmm.
one that's going to hit in the next couple weeks. But Josh Petty coming back to our honey hole here,
Yeah.
another player out of the state of Georgia.
Hmm.
Roswell, Georgia, 6'4.5", 262 pounds. This guy is number 36 in the nation, number 5 offensive tackle overall. And that just goes to show you, you're the number 5 offensive tackle and you're still top 35, 36 in the nation. Pretty amazing. Has anybody heard anything different? Anything changed on your thoughts here with Josh Petty, or is everybody still pretty locked in with him?
No, I'm still locked in. This is, to me, I think this one is similar to the Payton Joseph. It's a lot of connections and relationships between the coaching staff and even family that plays a part in this. His comfortability, of course, he can choose to go where he pleases, but I think where we sit is clearly in the driver's seat. And I know we've seen some situations where we've sat in the driver's seat and it didn't work in our favor,
Yeah.
but I think that Atkins is gonna get the job done. I just leave it at that.
Love to hear it. Love the confidence. Anything we
Um,
need to know?
well, I agree with everything Deshawn said. I just, I do think we're in the driver's seat, but I never count out Georgia in these situations. That's what I would say.
Sorry, guys. I had a little audio issues. If you guys can
Hmm.
run on with it a little bit there. I
Okay.
missed that
Oh
Well,
last
we
yeah.
comment.
you
So
sorry.
I just would say I would never count out Georgia here. I think I don't know. I don't think they like to lose in-state 5 stars at all, and I think they're going to roll out the red carpet no matter what. So, we'll see. But I do think Florida State's in the driver's seat because of the connections and all the things that we've discussed. But as I say,
His
with
just to
recruiting, you
let you
never
know,
know.
his main five are us: Ohio State, Tennessee, Stanford, and Georgia Tech.
I know,
So,
I know. But never count out Georgia here. That's what I would say.
all right.
Well,
Let's
you
see.
never know. They could
Yeah.
Yeah.
decide and wake up one day and
Turn
decide
I
on the
they
mean,
heat.
didn't.
everybody knows Luke didn't have Georgia on his list either, right? And
Yeah.
Georgia came in at the last minute trying to flip our QB. This is what they do. It just means maybe they just haven't put the work in. Who knows? I'm just saying with this kid, watch out for Georgia. I know they're not on the list. That's
Hmm.
all I'm going to say about it.
You heard it
If
here first.
they
Be on the
get
lookout.
involved, then we could have some issues.
Hmm.
And Georgia Tech, no, I'm not concerned about that. Please stop.
But I'm reading the tea leaves of his schools, and I can tell that he has a different kind of mindset
Yeah,
in his recruitment, and education is a huge factor here, just by the list of schools he has on his
absolutely.
final. So I can understand why. And actually, I'm like you. I don't necessarily think Georgia Tech. I would look out possibly if anybody other than us, it would be Stanford. I just yeah, that would be the only
Um,
program I would think of.
It's
But
weird
you
how
I
know,
Stanford
yeah,
and
and I'm not saying
ACC, I can't
and
get
I'm
used
not
to that
saying
shit.
that Stanford's going to do it, but I'm saying I
yeah,
think Stanford would finish second to us in this recruitment.
yeah, I agree with you. He really is educated minded, and I
Mm,
100% agree. My worry is Georgia just loves to come in and do this, and again, I'm just maybe I have PTSD,
mhm.
but that's all I'm gonna say.
I
That's
can't
what I'll
remember
say.
many. I can't remember many situations where somebody was not involved and jumped in. But that Luke
Yeah.
Cromenhoff one, I don't know. That may be a good example. But when
Yeah,
anytime you go into, and especially Alabama, not so much Georgia, you have a thing where like, okay, well, Alabama might not have been after him early, but they miss on this guy over here, and they miss on
Hmm.
that guy there, and it could happen. But yeah, unless something, you never know what could happen. So definitely
Yeah.
not crazy not to pay attention. It's in Georgia. It could happen, but like we've talked about a million times, the majority of our recruits are going to come there. So you could just keep saying that over and over and over and over again. But it
Hmm.
is what it is. We recruit Georgia, so we're going to keep going out there and getting these guys. The big time stuff there. Is there anything on that I'm missing before we get into? I want to really look in. I don't think people understand exactly what Florida State's building when
Hmm.
we talk about blue chip ratio and the different things. So I want to really go in here and look through the whole class and kind of where it stacks up and what people can look forward to the next couple of years. But there may be a recruit or two slipping my mind. Was there anything that we wanted to talk about, Deshawn, before we move on?
Uh, Other than I throw another name out is Byron Lewis. I don't know
mm,
when his commitment date is.
Yeah, he
That's
doesn't
one to
have one.
watch. Yeah, I know
And
we.
for
And then
sure.
we got a commitment, I believe, yesterday also from a 26 defensive back wide receiver prospect. Another prospect to look out for, I believe we talked about Bryce Fitzgerald out of Miami Columbus, who's I would guess you label him an athlete. That's another name to look out for
Oh,
in
that's
the
right.
defensive backfield. Let me see if I can bring up his film.
Yeah, I forgot we
Yeah.
had talked about him. The defensive backboard has been that's what I wanted to talk about. I'm glad you brought that up. I wanted to talk about
Hmm.
the defensive backboard before we moved on because it's
Okay.
a little funky this year. We talked about it a
Hmm.
lot. There's not a ton of really big safeties out there that
Hmm.
really suit Patrick Surtain's um, system or the guys that he goes after. In general, you get Gregory Zay Thomas. That was like he was the top dude on the board. Lock him
Hmm.
down. That's great. But you end up getting offers out to guys like Ladarian Clarity.
Hmm.
Um, the word on the street for him that I'm hearing is Ole Miss as of
Hmm.
late.
Hmm.
I've said all along if Florida State pushes hard enough, I think they'd get him here. I think he'd be a Nola in a heartbeat.
Hmm.
But I just don't know with his size and his type of play how hard that is out there. If
Hmm.
Surtain wants to go after him, we had the same kind of issue with Drake Stubbs.
Hmm.
We just saw him commit to Miami the other day.
Hmm.
And it's not that he's not maybe the best safety in the entire nation. It's just more
Hmm.
of a frame and the kind of the
Scheme and
style.
fit. Scheme and fit. That's what it is.
Absolutely, with
Hmm.
Patrick Surtain, and he's able to be a little picky. When you
Yeah.
look at the 4 or 5 guys he signed out of high school and the guys we brought in out of the transfer portal last year,
Hmm.
there's an ability there. You look at it's like 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", 6'2", 6'1", like they can
Yeah.
be picky. So this board is kind of morphed, and yeah, the latest guy that he's come out and said, I think did he say that Florida State was the leader pretty much all of a sudden after us
Mhm.
not even like not him being on our radar.
Yeah.
I'm wondering where that puts guys like Jabori Antone, the
Hmm.
kid that deep
Conan
committed from
Banny.
LSU.
Hmm.
Um, there's also Onus Conanbanny, the kid they call Snowfall from SFE. Like it seems like it keeps adding up. There's like 6 or 7 guys on this DB board. We
Hmm.
think maybe they signed 3 or 4. Where are we at? Make some sense. Where can we even start this conversation of who we think might be the next one to pop on DB, or where do you think we're at there?
Well, you touched on it already, George. because we took what we took in last year's cycle, we can afford to be a little bit more choosy. And it seems that he's looking for more rangy players to be able to cross train that can actually convert to safety, if not stay at the corner position. So it, I would take it as this: is we're looking more to fill the safety role as much more as we're looking to fill the corner role. Even though, like for example, Zay Thomas, you're looking at Clarity. Was another guy we were recruiting, but we didn't really push hard for, was Jaden Blair. I believe he committed to Notre
Yep.
Dame within the
Yep.
last. Yeah, that's another name to throw out there. Then this kid Fitzgerald, what's his name, Max Redmond. So it's a
July
particular
9th
look.
for Max
Yeah.
Redmond. Yeah.
So these are names that, and then you've already mentioned Conan Banny and Jabor Anton. These are names; those are still two names I'd say to watch out for: Conan Banny and Anton, as well as Fitzgerald and Redmond. So, I mean, that pretty much named what I know of their board right now, that we've had an understanding of where they're at the DB board. But it's not I wouldn't say it's not a dire need, because you always want to, but as far as the four that you're looking for, the four prospects, that's your pool in which they're trying to pull from. They have one, so they're looking to fill at least two more spots.
Yeah, when you look at it, Bryce Fitzgerald, according to 247, is number 213 overall, but he's 6'1.5", 172. They've got Clarity at 5'10.5", 178. I don't know if that's right. I think he might be a little closer to 6 foot nowadays. But Fitzgerald, a bit of a taller guy. He mentioned Blair just committed to Notre Dame. Stubbs committed to Miami. They were recruiting Lagonza Hayward out of Georgia, but I don't know how much really they got going there. There's a Jordan Young kid out of North Carolina, but I think he's kind of a foregone conclusion to Clemson. So there's a possibility there, not clear, but we do know that Pat Surtain is definitely working. It just is what it is. After last year, DB isn't the focus. It isn't the kind of the centerpiece of this class, but it's still Florida State. It's kind of the one position where you have the most clout to go and get who you want. So real interesting to see who we kind of end up with. We've named the names. There's 5 or 6 of them, but they're never going to take that many. They'll probably take another 3 of them. I'll just guess. I'll go ahead and give the people a guess, since I've rambled on so much here in this segment. I think you end up getting Conan Banny, Fitzgerald, and Anton. So I'll probably come to regret that, and I'll probably be wrong as fuck. But there you go.
Excuse me. Is Ben Hank? Have you heard anything about Ben Hanks? I know he did visit, or he scheduled a visit.
That's like the 7th name.
Yeah, that's another name, but I don't know how hard or where they're at on his recruitment, as far as how hard they're pushing, or his actual full interest. I know he
Cornerback,
visited.
by the way. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, out of Booker T. Washington, out of Miami.
Top 100 guy. Really nice.
He did visit on the 18th, back in June 18th. So he has had a visit on campus. I'm looking at who his primary recruiter is, and I don't really know how hard, but he fits the mold though. He's 6'1", 170. I believe he's a legacy kid though, for Florida, if I'm correct.
I wouldn't doubt it. And just to be clear, Conan Banny's also listed at a corner, and also Jabor Anton. It's so hard to keep track with the way one site has one as a tackle, one is offensive line, one is Saint. That's why we just kind of just say DB. And that's how Patrick Surtain recruits it. He recruits, and that's kind of the issue with these 5'10", 5'11", all-world safeties out there, is that they don't fit what he likes at corner. So it's like, it just doesn't work. He recruits guys that he can try out at corner, try out at slot, play all over the field, and you end up with just a DB group. But we'll see. We'll see where it lands. Jen, did you have anything before we move on?
No, not on this. I mean, I agree with everything you guys said. So, I mean, I think with the DB class, I think this is just not the year for Florida State with the DBs. I don't know that we're going to get like superstars or anything like that, because that's not exactly what's on their board right now.
Very fair evaluation. But yeah, I guess moving on, building a monster at Florida State. there's been a whole lot of talk about the blue chip ratio and everything. So I went and looked it up this morning. I do a little research for the show to have a little something to talk about it. And even myself, I was kind of really surprised at kind of the level of the improvement. So it blows me away how much people kind of complain and, are able to find faults. But the growth year after year in class over class that this team has had is pretty amazing. And I don't think people realize, I say it all the time, this is the most talented Florida State class. It's going to be the most talented Florida State team, and it's not even close this year. But what's it going to look like in 25 and 26? It's going to look even crazier. So when you go back and look, this is kind of like your blue chip to 3-star ratio year by year. 2020, when Florida State, they finally get rid of Taggart. It's COVID is coming. The first 18 months of Mike Norvell's career, he can't even leave the campus to recruit. It's a nightmare. 2022 comes around. We sign 8 blue chips and 16 3-stars. That recruiting class had a total of 240 points. And this is according to the 247 composite, which this particular data is. That's tough. That's terrible. The very next year, it gets a little bit more respectable. You got to go on the road for a couple months, I believe, with the 2021 class. He signs 8 blue chips, 9 3-stars. Tough. But in this time now, we're doing work in the transfer portal. They're really getting some things done. You get Jermaine Johnson after that 2021 class for the 2022 season. But the 2022 class, 6 3-stars, or 6 4-stars, 11 3-stars. Terrible. These blue chip percentages, like, they are in the ground. The high school recruiting really struggled. Then you come around to the class of 2023. It was a little bit better. We signed less guys. We finally signed our first blue chip, 50% blue chip high school class. This was the class of 2023, 2 classes ago. 9 4-stars, 9 3-stars. Now, if you look at that, that's what Florida State went 13-1 with. That's what Florida State went 13-0. Should have been in the playoffs. Should have had a shot at the national title. They did that with 16, 24, 33 blue chips to 46, 50 3-stars. It was bad. It was a backwards 30-something% blue chip ratio. But the way they did that, the way they had such a good team, is they were able to flush lower ranked players out of the portal, and they were bringing better players in through the portal. They were able to just really clean out the roster. If you look at the roster for 2024, it's loaded with dudes from that 21, 22, even 2020 class that did work out. But they're the only ones that's left. The rest of those classes are pretty much gone. 2021, those classes are gone. Their history. There's still plenty of 22 and 23 kids around. But when you get to 24 class, the class we just brought in, the freshmen that we're going to see on the field this year versus all those others, it just blows them out of the water. It's why the fact that people have the gall to bitch and complain about recruiting drives me up a wall when you look at the trends and where it's going. I get it's not, you want to be Georgia, but, Noah's Ark wasn't built in a day. 2024 class, 16 blue chips, 7 3-stars. And of those 16 blue chips, they're all 4-stars. But really and truly, we all know Landon Thomas was a 5-star. We all know Luke could have been. We all know Cam Davis, I believe, was a 5-star at one point as well.
Yep.
It's pretty ridiculous. Florida State, and we've seen how these guys operate. We had a history. We had a reputation of being shitty high school recruiters and not going after big talent, yada, yada, losing them. So it hurt the guys that we got. But unfortunately, that's changing. But that 16-7 ratio, that's 70%. And on top of that, Florida State brought in 10 blue chip transfers and 1 blue chip walk-on and Trevor Jackson, the quarterback, for a total of 27 blue chips in one class, which was, again, almost as much as 4 entire classes before that just added up to 33. You get 27 in one class. Now here we are in 2025 with 10 of 10 so far. We literally have 10 recruits, 10 blue chips, one of which is a 4-star. And not only that, your 4-stars are much higher. Like on a as a group, they're all way closer up towards you got more top 100 recruits, more top 200, more top 150s, everything of that nature. So projecting forward, we'll take it easy. We'll say Florida State signed 16 again.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at 32 out of high school, 10 out of you're right there. That puts you at 50% going into next year, right there. Just if we go sign another 5 guys. But the crazy part, the building a monster part, is as you add in front of this, every time you go forward, you cut one off the back. It's like when you're looking at your portfolio and you're just looking at the last 365 days. Well, once you make it into a section where it throws that shitty month off, all of a sudden your average goes up. Well, that's what's going to happen, because this year we drop off 2020. The next year, 2021 drops off. So when they come running out there for the 2025 season, it's going to be with 99, 16 and 7, whatever we get this year. It's going to skyrocket. It's going to come from both angles, not just one. You're getting better and better classes every year, and worse ones are going to drop off. So you're going to have 50 next year, and then the next year it's going to be 70, 80. And I'm here to tell you right now, you can clip this, do whatever you want to do with it. 24, 25, Florida State is going to compete for playoff spots. Who knows if they could even steal a national championship berth in one of these 2 years. But come 26 and 27, it's over. Wrap it up. As long as Mike Norvell stays around and Florida State can keep this thing together, they're going to be absolute juggernauts. But yeah, Florida State's building a monster. And if you could just really look into the numbers and understand what you're seeing, when you understand that literally almost 30 blue chips are first-year guys on campus this year, and that's what we're going to be building. That's what our base is going to be in a couple years. Right now, we're building with a base. Almost our entire, team is built up of a bunch of 3 stars and a couple 4 stars. Shaheem Brown was like the 1,000th-something guy in the country. He's our starting safety. We're not even looking. Those guys aren't even crossing our page. Nothing against Shaheem Brown. But it's just the fact of, if we're evaluating somebody, it's because they're the best in the country, regardless of star rankings. It just happens now. How many 3 stars are even on the board? I'm sorry that's long-winded, but I needed a little something, needed an anchor, and I wanted to go on that rant. And I think I challenge everybody to go really look at these recruiting rankings and where Florida State's going, because it's a beautiful thing. And that is just looking at the high school numbers. That is just the base, guys. That's the bare bones of what they go off. And it's going to shoot up 20%, 25% each of the next 3 years. That's just the base. That's not counting all the guys, 10 to 20, 25 guys each year that go off in the transfer portal. And these are 3 stars. These are small. Sometimes you get some 4 or 5 stars, but these are the lesser players. They are sharpening this thing. Florida State is recruiting. We've talked about it a million times, but now it's in effect. We are seeing it first eye. They're recruiting exactly like Clemson does at their elite level, what they do to win championships, with the portal. It's Clemson with the portal. And it leaves Gabba up there with his dick in his hand, okay, yeah, I'm still signing 18 blue chips and only a couple 3 stars. We're doing this elite thing. We're keeping everybody. Yeah, but we're keeping the ones that don't work out. We're sharpening the thing. So I can't wait till people get to see it. They haven't seen it. You literally saw Florida State with a 30-something blue chip ratio. Whatever. It's truly 63% this year. The paperwork tells you it's 40%. But going forward, you're talking about massive leaps year over year. And that's the future that they're selling these kids on. How crazy it's going to be when you have Payton Joseph, Lucas Simmons, Solomon Thomas, Josh Petty all on an offensive line in 2026.
There's 3 phases today in today's football and college, on the college world, the landscape now. You spoke to the portal, you spoke to high school, but there's also player retention. So you have to look at that and add those 3 phases, make it up. And as you say, you mentioned Clemson, player retention and high school is 2 things that they operate in, but they don't operate in all 3 phases of recruiting in today's game, in which Florida State is doing so. And I would encourage also our viewers, never pay attention to the number on the left when you're looking at these recruiting rankings on these sites. They mean nothing. It's always our average and our score average. And if you look consistently, for example, one particular bases it off of industry rankings, and those equate all from the ESPNs and the 247s and all that, all into one. We only have 10 commits, but yet we sit 9th in the industry ranking when you do a collective of the rankings across the board. We sit with a 92, and if you go to the 247s, we're at 93.4 in quality. So that don't look at the quantity right now, look at the quality. because the max we probably will take is 17, maybe 20 prospects. That's it. The rest will be filled between portal and retention. We have to get used to that now. That's how we're going to operate. We're going to, and so instead of just filling your high school class with a bunch of development, you raise your blue chip level from the high school ranks. That's just basically what George is explaining. Then you move on and you go right to retention, and then you hit the portal and you look for the best fits, best quality out of the portal. And that's how it's going to have to work. And that's what it's working. It's working. We went 13-0 with lesser blue chip ratio, but the retention played a big part in last year. Now we're moving forward with the next phase, and that's acquiring the talent at a high level from high school. You'll see retention at the end of this season. You're going to see it. And then you add in portal again. You're going to see it.
Yeah, you hit on the key there. It's like a pyramid. You've got your 3 pillars of recruiting: retainment, portal, and high school. And one thing that isn't represented enough, and it's not talked about for separate reasons, whether it's you work at 247 or whatever the case may be, you have high school, you have portal, and you have retainment. You spoke on it. Florida State's been great on retainment, and they've been great at the portal. Everybody sees that, the 10 blue chips coming in, the Jermaine Johnsons, this and that. But what they don't see and they don't talk about is the guys out the door. Just as important as the guys coming in is the guys going out. You're able to take a high school transfer portal class or a transfer high school class and keep the good guys, keep the guys that are going to work out. And you, like, these guys after freshman year, they're part of it. They're going to be a starter in 2 or 3 years. You're able to keep those. And the ones that aren't happy, the cancers in the locker room, or the people that is a good guy and he's just never going to contribute, they get on down the road. And what you have is a pruning process. Unfortunately, right now, when you look at the composites and the blue chip ratios and stuff, they don't take account for that. But it's what Florida State is the best in the nation at. Nobody is better at developing your guys once you get in there, and then the outgoing portal versus what you're coming in. Everybody else, they're losing some guys in the portal that they wanted to keep. They may have a great class, but they're losing this or losing that. Outside of like a literal handful of guys, Florida State just doesn't. They don't lose contributors. They've been able to keep their guys and bring in amazing guys. And you just, what's it going to be, when it's a 60-70 blue chip ratio is the base that they're pruning. And then they're able to bring in guys on top of that. You're going to have a ceiling of a roster that's going to be higher than ever before. Like, we're talking all this shit. We're lucky Georgia don't do that. Like, Georgia isn't doing that. Thank fucking God. Because imagine if Georgia pushed out an extra 15 players out the back end and brought in 10, 15 guys out of the portal. We'd be fucked. Maybe they're not doing it just because, once you get to a certain level, only so many people can start. But the opinion that great players don't hit the portal, and I'm totally against that. I think there's plenty of great players that do hit the portal. And I think you saw that when Florida State got 6 of them drafted. In the top 100, 9 total. So only 1 high school out of 10. What's going to happen when it's half and half? When it's truly 60-40, maybe high school to portal? Does that mean we're going to have 16 players drafted? Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? We just brought in 26 blue chips, 3 or 4 classes worth in 1 class. Let's give it a couple years, guys. Let's see what is going to happen. I can't wait just to see all these guys on the field. And this class is Mike Norvell. He's proven to do more with less. We're going to see what he can do more with more. It's up to 63% if you look at it, including transfers this year. But I guarantee you guys it'll be over 80 and 25, and you'll be pushing for 90 and 26 and beyond.
Yeah, those current. Sorry. Those current top 5, like you mentioned, Georgia amongst those top 5 programs right now, like the current rankings are Ohio State, Alabama, Oregon, LSU, Georgia. They don't necessarily do it to the extent that FSU has done it in the portal as at this point, but they have one thing in common: they've all still done it. They're more selective. Yeah, so it's still being done. They're just doing it. Everybody has their own philosophy on how much or how much they want to dip their foot into that portal pond. Basically, we've done it a little bit more, but as you see, the trajectory is showing that we may start doing it a little less, just like they're doing. We'll be even more selective as we continue to raise that blue chip floor.
For sure. Like, you have to wait. It's like you can't. It's the resources battle. You can only
Yeah.
put so much there. But we were able to become elite by really hammering it with the high school. But yeah, I agree. I think eventually you end up somewhere in like a 70-30 range, high school to portal. But the ability, like the level you're going to be able to sharpen the thing, it's gonna be real beautiful. It's gonna be
Mhm.
different. It's gonna be a lot different here the next couple of years. It's gonna be a lot of fun. But sorry, Jen, I know we've been yapping here for about 15 minutes.
Oh no, you're fine. I was just gonna say, like, for all the chicken littles out there with the recruiting and stuff, Tavion Wallace didn't just burn Florida State. Nobody expected him to go to Arkansas. Not one person did. And by the way, he ain't gonna sign with Arkansas either. Like, no way in hell, no way, no how, that ain't happening. That fat ass coach is gonna get fired. He's gone. Like, let's stop the madness. That isn't happening. So the relationship is still there. Who knows what will happen? I don't know. None of us know. We weren't in the room, but I can tell you, like, stop. No, like, nobody likes those fat women that much. Okay, nobody. All right. So Shaquille O'Neal or Charles Barkley has it best. You like fat women. Okay. Nobody does. Okay. That's the thing. So that isn't a spurn. This was a, what word would you call it? This was a, maybe a paid thing. I don't know. But he isn't going to Arkansas. I do think he ends up at Georgia though. That's what I would say. Now, we have to stop whining about high school recruiting. Most high school kids, if you get them now, they're going to transfer in a year. That's just the deal. Like, it doesn't, I'm not saying high school recruiting doesn't matter, but all these people whining and pulling their hair out of their heads. Florida State went 13-0 last year with a worst ranked class ever, like within the last couple of years. Okay. That's what happened. And they used the portal. Because guess what, guys? It works. It works.
I would
And
I'm sorry. Go ahead,
oh
Jen.
no,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead. Go ahead.
No,
No,
I was
no.
just going to piggyback. I thought you were finished, but I was just going to add one quick note. I would encourage those to go look at Michigan's blue chip ratio and their
Mhm.
personnel on average of what they recruited leading up to last year and how they won a national championship. They beat a team they beat Alabama. We all saw that game and we saw how that game played out. I promise you, Alabama's blue chip ratio was much better than Michigan's. Michigan used development. They recruited in the trenches, and we all see the quarterback they had. He didn't really have to do anything. They used your medium round running backs. They were not 5 stars. They were mid level 4s and 3s. They brought in decent to high mid level linemen, developed them on both sides of the ball, developed everything else that they had around them. It took some time, and they won a national championship off of that. I know that might be the outlier, but let's be for real here. It's been proven it can be done.
Mhm.
Clemson did it twice. They just had generational quarterbacks when they did it. They recruited at a high level on the defensive line and the trenches. What are we trying to do this year? We are attacking the trenches. That's how you win football games. You win it on the lines of scrimmage. So if you have high level defensive linemen, high level offensive linemen, things change. You can plug in your mid-tier running backs, your mid-level wide receivers. Everybody doesn't have to be a 5 star. That's what I say. We have to get off this star level and start looking for the film and fit and how they fit the scheme of the offense and defenses that we run. Being so enamored by stars has really killed
Yeah.
the mindset of the average fan in recruiting. I
Yeah.
mean, this whole star thing did not come out until like 2002. Before
Yeah.
that, it was always about what the kids' achievements at their local level, their film, and that's how coaches went about it. The star thing has kind of ruined the way we look at recruiting instead of focusing on the film and not the stars and how they fit your program.
Well,
Yeah.
I
I
would,
mean,
I, I would agree, but like, yes, what you said, everything is absolutely true. But at Florida State and at this level, the reason the stars came out is just because the top 300 kids get the stars. It's just a fact of the matter. Like I'm 100% with you, but
Mhm.
the part is the thought process.
Mhm.
People don't understand where the stars come from. They just see the end result of
Mhm.
stars, and they don't see the difference in a Ladarian Clarity and a
Mhm.
Gregory Zay Thomas. They
Mhm.
see equal things. And
Mhm.
it's like they could both be great. One would go be great at Kentucky, and the other would
Mhm.
be great at Florida State or Ole
Mhm.
Miss or whatever the case may be. That's just how it works out. Like amongst that top, of a 4-star, like thinking because you got a lower 4-star than
Mhm.
somebody else that's somehow lesser. No, no. That's like it's a floor. It's a
Mhm.
threshold. It's a
Yeah,
thing. Same
I
thing with
get you.
Bud Elliott's 50% thing. It's a
Mhm.
threshold. So we're not saying like you don't need 4 stars and 5 stars. You do. But that's just an end result of getting the top players in the nation. Like when you offer the guy, he may not be shit. Don't be
Mhm.
mad about a star a
Mhm.
year out, a 2026 3-star commit, a Luke
Mhm.
Kermanhawk, a Tramel Jones.
Mhm.
So, like, yeah, like any dumbass can see at the end of the time when it comes down to early signing day, you can pretty much tell who the top 300 players in the nation are because they
Mhm.
play at a completely different level. So I just wanted to throw
Yeah.
that out there because somebody will say they said stars don't matter, but there's
Mhm.
nuance to this shit, guys. There's
Yeah.
nuance in the way it works. And because you signed a 5-star 4 years ago that isn't even on the team, that don't make
Mhm.
shit. Florida State still has their 3-star. His name's Shaheem Brown. And
Yeah.
sure, that 4-star safety might have been better when you signed him, but now it don't make a shit. You
Yeah.
talked about Michigan. You talked about how Clemson did it. They do it kind of different ways. Michigan did it. We're doing what Michigan's doing right now. Florida State's roster and Michigan, what they had, despite what the pundits say, they both 15 to 20 recruiting rankings. They were at like 51 or 52%. But that's just because they had a steady 4 or 5 years.
Mhm.
Florida State's first 2 or 3 recruiting classes, they'll never recruit like that again. That's my point. It's like they're holding these stars from 2021 and 22 against Mike Norvell, but he don't recruit like that no more. We just brought in 26 last time. So sorry, Jen, I know you're dying to talk too. This is a fun conversation.
Mhm.
Oh no, I mean it's fine. I was just saying, like everybody gets all worked up about what high school recruits you're gonna get, how many 5 stars you get, how many. Okay, let's go look at the Miami 2022 class. How many of those are still there? Let's go
Well, I
look.
mean, you can't. Miami's terrible. Like you can't. Like I
No,
get what
I'm
you're
just
saying. Like it's not the
saying.
be
No, no,
all
no,
end
no,
all. But like,
no. I'm talking about the Chicken Littles that are whining about recruiting rankings. You can have whatever rankings you want in your life, but with the transfer portal right now, you bring in these kids and they can transfer out in a year. You are look, they're
it's
not
average.
if they're not playing,
Quality
they're
over quantity.
transferring.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They're transferring if they're not playing. That's
The
just the truth.
teams that job it, like a Miami has a top 5 ranking just because they signed like 16 3-stars. That shit
Mhm.
does not help you anymore.
Mhm.
And that was the gripe with Dan Mullen at Florida. Yeah, he
Mhm.
had these top 10 classes every year, but 5 of them wouldn't
They're
qualify.
backlogged.
3
Yeah.
would transfer. This one would have, at the end of the day, what was it really? Willie Taggart did that to a degree with his classes. Mike Norvell and this staff, they don't go for any of that. They just go get whatever the best players they can get. If it's a three
Mhm.
star, it's a 3-star. If it's a 4-star, it's a 4-star. Half the time they end up being 4 stars and 5 stars.
Mhm.
But it's like they're elite. They're some of the best in the nation. Top 5 evaluators, top 5 portal guys. They're working in their way to top 5 high school, but they're there. They're top 10 recruiters at the high school level right now. And when you
Mhm.
can add that, what Clemson does, what Michigan does, if you can do a higher level of high school recruiting than Michigan does, and you continue what you did in the portal. Like
Mhm.
people were afraid to go after the portal the way Mike Norvell did because they thought it would affect their high school. He
Mhm.
was able to live off the portal and establish a program, establish the chest to be able to recruit a certain way. Like they don't have to go and beg. You're able to do this, get guys out of high school that are a high hit rate and also bring in the portal guys to add. It's something that we haven't seen. I can't wait to see it. But sorry, I know I'll talk all day long. Washington, it was the same thing. Washington and
Mhm.
Michigan, people talk about we don't see it. We've never seen it. We haven't had the portal. We literally have not seen a season with the multiple portal yet. This class we've just seen, we haven't seen a single season. We haven't seen Earl Little Jr. be able to transfer and go start at fucking a corner for FSU. We haven't seen that. The data isn't there. 36% of the draft was portal guys. To Jen's
Mhm.
point, I think high school recruiting is huge. It's important, but it's just quality over quantity. You
Mhm.
sign 20 elite guys and then bring 15 elite guys out of the portal. That's going to be either or. Like it's my opinion. that Mike Norvell seen this coming. He knew he would have to work up towards it. Maybe we see a new linebacker coach after this year, but you're going to see it come. They're going to sharpen every razor, and when you add it together, the combination of the portal and high school is going to be something that takes it to another level. We'll see what Georgia does the next couple of years, but it's my opinion, and we'll see. Been pretty good so far. By 2026, you're going to see a new type of juggernaut. You're going to see a Florida State team that is just another level of excellent when you have juniors out of that 2024 recruiting class, sophomores 25, and the freshmen from 26 coming in. And what transpires over the portal? If they don't change the portal the next couple of years, what Norvell and the staff is going to be able to do with plugging holes, with the new depth, with the new young people, plus the battles in and everything. Like, I just wish people could see through the clouds. If you could take what Deshawn said, take what Jen said, take my steel manning of their ideas, and to kind of look at it for what it is. Like, literally, take the time, go break down what's on Florida State's roster right now versus what the reality of people's talk is. See what that 63% looks like. See that the best offensive line in over a decade. See the defense is going to be top 10. See the defensive line is going to eat people up. It's like, how many times do you have to keep seeing it to believe John Papuchis and Odell Higgins are able to get top 100 linemen out of the portal? Like, they're going to keep being able to do it, filling gaps, filling holes. There's always going to be somebody at a school sitting behind somebody in a purgatory that can see, oh shit, Florida State, I could go there, I could do this. It's going to get better. Like, the things on the field getting better, recruiting follows like a class behind. Like, if you're good in 2024, you don't get that benefit that much in that class. It's a year after. So you're seeing 2025, this is off the 10 wins. This ain't really off the playoff team. The 2026 team, that's what you're going to see off the 13-win team. The one that's number one in the class right now, already in the nation. It's going to be like 2026, like, just buckle up. It's going to be fucking nuts. Probably the top 5, like 19 guys, but they're all top 100 or some shit. Like, mark my words. I'm telling y'all. This is probably going to be on Twitter tomorrow with me being some kind of crazy homer, but it's like, there's special things. Like, I can be negative. I can talk shit about Randy Shannon and this and that and everything else. We can be negative sometimes, but we can also say he's one of the best coaches in the nation. And that's what, Mike Norvell decided to do. People are getting tired of hearing me. I'm sorry. I just went off on a rant this time. I couldn't help it.
If I can add one more thing to this, George, I'm going to throw out some numbers: 7, 10, 15, and 9. Those were the previous 4 rankings of Michigan's class. The final year of those 4 classes, they won a title last year with those ranked classes. But we're being told that you have to average a top 5 class every year to be a contender in the game. No, you don't. You have to be smart in how you fit and how you recruit your system. That's it.
And Washington was 38%.
Exactly.
38%. And why'd Alabama hire him?
But I give you this: you had a good coach, you had good developers. Their best 2 players on that team were transfers: Michael Penix and Roman Dunzier. They were transfers. I think McMillan too. 2 of those 3 receivers that they had, they were elite. They got drafted high. Were transfers. So
Washington was Florida State last year, like a similar
blue chip ratio. Exactly.
And that was with that. That was with 4 years of under the line and everybody pissed and it's terrible and all this.
Yes.
So what are we going to be able to do when we have it? When we have the 70% blue chip ratio and all that? Like, it's just,
so when you raise the floor,
get out of the moment. Like, I can't wait for the season to get here and games to start getting played. But we're building a monster here in Tallahassee.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry. We'll keep trying to convince you, but shit is getting scary. If you have any questions, I never even said it when I put the line up there, but nobody's called. I don't think. If you have any questions, now's the time. Speak never, hold your peace, or whatever. Jen, you got anything?
Well, I would say that anybody who, with one comment here, don't need transfers, got to learn how to recruit better. How can you recruit better? You went 13-0. That's just a dumb comment. You're stupid. I'm sorry. I hate to say it, but you're dumb. I don't need this anymore. Look, here's the deal. Florida State, Mike Norvell is recruiting in a different way. And people can either be upset about it, you can hate it, you can love it, you can not like it. You can sit there and be a chicken little worried about what 247 or On3 ranks your kids. Okay. But at the end of the day, in a year, a kid can transfer anytime he fucking wants to at this point. Okay. I'm sorry. I don't mean to make the bad language, but y'all got to calm the F down. Okay. These kids can transfer. You can have a number one class. And guess what? Half of them can transfer in 6 months now if they want to. It doesn't matter. Like, you've got to actually scout these kids. You've got to look at the transfer portal, and that is what this coaching staff is doing. You can sit here and whine about it, but they went 13-0. Okay? That's just the truth. So I'm going to trust them over weirdos on the internet. No offense.
I see
You're
something
welcome.
I see something in the chat, George. Chris brought up from Spirit Addicts made a great point. You take on the New England Patriots mindset under that organization, under Belichick, that won 6 Super Bowls. It's basically plug and play. You look for those players that fit your system, and as I've already said, they're high level. If you find high level guys, you find whatever fits. You it's about talent acquisition. We have to stop looking at one source or resource as the end all be all for talent acquisition. If you take the pro game, talent acquisition comes through the draft and through free agency. Sounds a lot like recruiting and portal, because that's what free agency is. It's basically the portal in the NFL. So we have to learn how to move past what I've mentioned before.
It's
tradition.
the NFL without contract.
Yeah.
There's no contracts. You can
That's
just
it.
Anybody off any team at any time.
Move past tradition and learn that, look, we're in a progressive era of college athletics, period. We need to move with the old fogey mindset when it comes to everything that we're seeing and walk into the new. I mean,
we're living in change.
But history tells us, though, no matter outside of sports, just society, because it's a microcosm, we always buck against change.
Yeah.
It's always a problem.
Facts.
Yeah, I guess I would just say I'm just over these Chicken Little people being like, they know recruiting better than this coaching staff who went 13-0. I'm sorry. Until I've seen something on the field that makes me go, ugh, what's going on? I'm going to trust these guys because they're using the portal. They're using everything that they're given, and they're not, have they lost some recruits? Sure. Like a KJ Bolden. I don't feel like they lost Tavion Wallace. I feel like all these other teams lost Tavion Wallace because Arkansas came in with some sort of bullshit that he isn't going to sign with them. I'm sorry. It's just the truth. And again, y'all have to just calm down. It's freaking July. Wake me on signing day, because these weirdos out here are just wild to me. It's wild.
Alrighty. Well, you heard it here first. Doesn't look like we got any callers coming through. We really love everybody out there at Seminole Nation. We'll call this a day. Love you guys. Make sure you go check out Jen on X. Again, that's at Jen Santy 1890. You can find me at Renegade Report 1. Deshawn is Deshawn Adams 18. And let them know your YouTube channel as well, so they can go check you out there and get subscribed as well.
Yes, Double D's Let's Talk Ball podcast, Double D's Gaming, and also D's DSCORNER, D's Corner on YouTube. And we're building a Twitch channel also.
Ooh, are you? Nice.
Yeah, for gaming. Yeah.
Congrats.
Heard it here first, as NCAA is shortly coming out here to hit the shelves. We'll leave you guys with a little Trub Life, and we will see you guys next time on Sunday. Hopefully, who knows what will happen. Maybe we have a recruit or two to celebrate, but if not, we'll see you there anyways. And then Monday with the roast, as always, go Noles.
Hey, man. FSU works for everybody. Let go. First off, fuck Bama in the road tide. Fuck Tuscaloosa in every city that's close by. Bitch ass hillbilly redneck fans. Auburn almost caught y'all slacking like dress fans. Michigan trash, they ain't got a damn chance. Only Wolverine I respect is X-Man. Keen ass coach got exposed, still in plays. Damn right I'm bitter, y'all sweeter than lemonade. Texas ain't shit to rave about. The Longhorns only good at a steakhouse. Had y'all like number 3, I was like, no way. Y'all lost to Oklahoma, which means y'all just okay. And Washington not important. Y'all beat some ducks, acting like that's vital as an organ. If we play great. 13-0, undefeated, damn, what more it take? Denied our presence, that should be a crime, they jealous. Probably get in if the Gators wasn't violent. Miami better not say nada. Last time they won a championship, food stamps had paper